Cool. Hey everybody, it's Sam Adams here from It All. Well, I was going to say It All Starts With You podcast, but it is now actually It Starts With You podcast. I took the all out. So yeah, it starts with you. And tonight, or whatever time you're listening to this podcast or watching this, I have the pleasure of the company of a lovely, lovely lady who I'm really honoured and proud to call a friend. And that lady is Jules White. Hi, Jules.
Hello, Sam.
How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on your fabulous new podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to come on. I mean, we've tried to do this a couple of times. I know we finally got here. I'm super proud to call you as a friend because you are, and I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up your bum, but I think you're an awesome human being. I love what you do. I love what you stand for. I think when we get together or we talk, we always sort of just click. And, I really value your friendship and your advice, and I think you're a great human being. And that on a personal level, but from a business perspective, I know how hard you work, and I know how passionate you are about what you do. So to have you come on the podcast means a lot to me.
Thank you. And I feel the same. I felt like really the first time I spoke to you, which was on a Zoom call, would you believe? I felt like I'd just known you for ages, and that was really nice. It's a nice feeling, isn't it?
It is. Sometimes you get that with people, doesn't it? You just connect, and you just kind of similar way of thinking about things, and I think that was just it for us. So it was really nice. And then to meet face to face at TEDx last year, and subsequently since then has been awesome. So I'm really honoured to have you on here, and I really appreciate you doing it and giving up because I know you've probably got a million and one things you could probably be doing.
No, I would rather be doing this with you right now. So.
You're too kind. So, couple of things. I could list out all the things about Jules White because there's quite a list. But I actually don't want to do that. What I'd really like you to do, perhaps you could introduce yourself and tell us, the audience, who you are and what it is that you do.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, now I've got to make a long list myself, haven't I?
I'm joking. Remember everything. And I've got to list it.
Yeah, you can prompt me. I think the important thing is, and I always say this when I open up, but I help you to fall in love with sales, and that's really important that I actually put it that way, because so many people feel really scared about sales and selling. It's got a really bad stigma to it, that yucky, horrible stuff. And there's a lot of fear around selling. So my key thing is for the audience to know is that I help you fall in love with sales. But obviously there's a huge story behind the back of that, which really comes from 32 years of working in sales, selling myself. That's where I've learned my trade, really. And then also various things that happened on that journey, which maybe we'll talk about in this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess the really exciting things I've done sort of more recently have been, obviously I had a TEDx talk that I did in 2018, which sounds like a really long time ago now, doesn't it? It's so weird. But 2018, I got my TEDx talk, which was really by chance. I was absolutely in the right place at the right time. That's just one of those things. And I had 7 days notice, and to stand then on the stage in Brighton in the Dome, which is one of the best and biggest TEDx's, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's the second biggest.
It's 1,600 people, I think, were in the audience, they say. And that was just totally amazing. And I was so humbled to have that opportunity. So that was awesome. And then I went and wrote a book, which was also amazing, because I don't suppose I really set out to write a book, but it just happened. I wrote it across a period of a year.
Yeah.
And it's called Live It, Love It, Sell It, which is the brand that I go by. And it's been a wonderful experience. So there's a couple of things on the list you might be able to tick off.
You missed out Dragon Slayer.
Oh, yeah. I knew you were going to say that. That's how
I always, when I talk, I say, my friend Jules, the Dragon Slayer. That's how I talk. That's how I kind of think of you, the Dragon Slayer, but you haven't even mentioned it.
I know. Well, the thing is, right, the Dragon Slayer title, I guess you could call it, it was really such a lot of fun that
Yeah.
came about. And I just used to mess about and say, oh yeah, I'm a dragon slayer. I was in Dragon's Den and I got investment, so I slayed the dragons. And of course it was just fun. And then it's kind of stuck. It's on my LinkedIn profile, and so many people contact me and say, I've never connected with a dragon slayer.
Really?
I want to connect with you. And they don't even really know what I do. They just want to connect with the dragon slayer.
Yeah, it's got credibility to it, because so many people go through that process, and there's very few people that get investment. So, you know, it's like a lot of things in life, isn't there? There's a pyramid, and you're at the top of that pyramid when it comes to Dragon's Den. You're one of the very few that got that investment.
Well, I was also on it on the very early days, Sam. So, I mean, it was 2005 when I was on Dragon's Den, which was only the second series.
Right.
And I think they've just started series 18, I think it is. They've just
18?
Started.
Oh
yeah,
God,
which I think started last night. And and
wow.
of course, the dragon who invested in me, which was Peter Jones, is still a dragon.
Yeah.
So, and that's the reason I think that I feel more comfortable about still talking about it, because it's still on the telly and my dragon is still a dragon. So it's relevant. Whereas when I first started my business almost 4 years ago now, I sort of said, well, there's no real point in me talking about Dragon's Den because it was such a long time ago. But actually people want to hear about it, they want to know about it, and they feel it makes up part of who I am. And I guess it does, really.
Well, absolutely it does. It's part of the story of Jules White, and it's part of your story, isn't it? And you're right, because Dragon's Den is still current, Peter's still in it. People want, maybe if he wasn't in it, maybe it wouldn't seem so relevant, I think, from a personal point of view, but because he is still in it and he's still super well known, and I think it makes it current and it gives it credibility, and people, you know, want to know, what's he like, what's it like, you know. I went to an event a few weeks ago and Levi Roots was there. He was keynote speaker, and I think one of the questions from the audience was about Peter Jones, just wanting to know what he was like. Was he a nice man? What was he like behind the scenes and all of that? So people want to know that stuff, don't they? They want to know the behind the scenes stuff for celebrities, effectively, isn't he? Because that's what he is. But we're not here to talk about him anyway. We're here to talk about you. Actually, you're an entrepreneur, you're an author, a TEDx speaker, a dragon slayer, multi-award winning superhuman. My elevator pitch for Jules.
Thank you. You're very kind. You're very kind.
But obviously the podcast is called It Starts With You. That's my brand. And I called the podcast that because it's about taking responsibility and empowering ourselves and putting ourselves in control. I know that for some people that can seem a bit harsh, because, you know, some of us like to blame and complain the establishment, the job, people, or whatever. But I believe that if we take responsibility, we appreciate that it starts with us, our attitude, our decisions, our choices, that can empower us and put us in control, which is where we need to be to feel good and to, you know, to find happiness. If we take control, you know, then we can get off our butts and we can go and do something. If we blame and complain, then they have all the power and they have all the control over us, effectively. So I called the podcast It Starts With You for that reason. I mean, when I say that little strapline, what do you think? What does it mean to you? What does It Starts With You mean to you? Do you kind of agree with what I said, or are you slightly different opinion on it?
Yeah, I totally agree. Completely, 100% agree. And that's because of my story and my journey, because there were many times when I could have said, well, that's not fair, and that's her fault, or that's his fault. And I could have gone into a corner, and I could have probably just given up. But I feel like my journey has been very much about starting again. And every time I did that, had to start with me. So who was I? What was I going to do next? What was I good at? So it's absolutely relevant to me in so many ways. It really is.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because I know you're big on personal development like myself and mindset, and you appreciate how much that plays into our life, not just business but personal as well. But because of what happened to your business back in the early days, that you really did have to just take it on, take responsibility, and step forward and step up and carry on. So maybe you wouldn't mind sharing some of actually what happened to you after sort of the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah. The The
And then I
Dragon's
might put all
Den.
of this into, rather than us being a little bit, what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Let's make it clear to the listener,
Yeah.
the journey. So after getting the investment from Peter Jones on Dragon's Den, there was inevitably a big gap between when you film it to when it actually goes on the television. And in that period of time, we didn't do the deal. So then when it did go out on the television, which was really interesting, I got 2,500 emails in the inbox.
Wow.
Which was back in 2005 was huge. You know, we weren't like we are today. And some of those offers were actually offers of investment, which was interesting because they didn't know at the time, but I hadn't got the deal with, I hadn't done the deal with Peter. And one of them was somebody who I knew. I played hockey with her, and you know, we had a good friendly relationship, and she invested in my business. Now, 3 years later, the business was thriving. You know, we turned over our first million. We had, and just to explain, it was a party plan based business selling baby products because nobody else was doing it. So we had 432 consultants across the country selling, doing parties, selling Truly Madly Baby products. We had inquiries from America, Australia, and Europe to go global. So it was just phenomenal. And of course, Dragon's Den had helped to push on that, the speed of that growth. No question. But we were a victim of our own success. So we didn't have those foundations in place for that growth we were experiencing. And at the point where we needed to go to that next level, the business partner offered more investment. But she actually wanted 75% of the business for the uncapped amount of investment that she would then put in. And of course, that meant giving pretty much all my business away and losing control, giving up the baby. So I said no. She put me into administration. She bought the business back the next day and she carried on running it as Truly Madly Baby. Now, this was the point where this all starts to kick in, where it starts with me, because I lost everything. Literally overnight, I lost everything. And I had to start again. And at the time, part of my journey was my mum was poorly, my marriage failed, I had a miscarriage. You know, there's a lot of stuff went on in a really short period. But come my birthday, the following year, I was a single mum, bankrupt, with a small 4-year-old little boy, and no job. I was unemployed. So I think that was probably the rock bottom point of the story, where I had to actually say, who are you, Jules? What are you going to do next? What are you good at? And that's where I went back to sales. I'd always been in sales. I knew how to sell, and it was safe. It was my safe place. And I literally went out and I got a job. And then I was back in sales, where I then created a new career and learning more things, being a head of sales, being a sales director, all those lovely things I would not have experienced. And that was the self-development, the strength, the courage, the tenacity, you know, those things. Somebody once said it's bounce back ability is one of the things which I love. And I think that was where it absolutely started with me in terms of building that back up.
Do you think there was a defining moment though where you literally, because obviously like I said, your low point, you had a lot going on, and was there a defining moment where you thought, you know, just have to take control here, and I can't change what's happened, you know, for your marriage, for your business and all of that, and I've just got to take control and it starts right now, it starts with me, and I've just got to get out there and do something about it, take some action? Or
yeah, very much so, because once my husband, who's obviously my ex-husband, when he left, I was in a position where I was working in his business.
Right.
Because after losing my business, I'd gone back to work with him in his business. That's what I'd done before I had my little boy.
Okay.
And so I was his employee in his business, and he'd left me. And I carried on working with him for probably 4 months.
Wow.
Seeing him every day and working for him, which was tough. But actually it was a situation where I needed to earn something. But I think I got to the point in it was sort of probably May time, 2009. And I just said to him, I can't do this anymore because I'm not moving on. It's very painful. it's time for me to make a change.
Yeah.
And that was when I went to the employment agencies and said, can you please give me a job?
Yeah.
And that was, I went back 10 years to what I was doing in sales. I went way back. My ego was in tatters. My pride was on the floor. You know, it was horrible.
You're heartbroken, you're breaking.
Yeah, awful. However, I think the big thing was my son. You know, I had a beautiful boy, my Sam. He was 4 years old. I needed to go and work so that we could create a new life, which is what I did.
That's amazing, because you know, I think that's when when our back's against the wall and we're really struggling, us humans, that's when our resourcefulness really kicks in. I think, you know, how resourceful we can be, and I've spoke about this a couple of times recently, but I think resourcefulness is a really underutilized skill, and I think we don't really recognize how much how resourceful we can be, and how when our back's against the wall, when the chips are really down, that we can actually be really resourceful, and we are more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. You know, looking forward, you might not have thought you could have done those things. Do you know what I mean? But your son was probably a big driver for that. But we step up to the plate when you know, not everyone, of course, but there's a certain thing in, especially entrepreneurs and business people, where you just realize you've got to do something outside the box. You've got to create something. Do you know what I mean? You've got to come up with an idea or do something. And I think, especially in those types of people, we suddenly utilize our resourcefulness, which is obviously what you did. And you went back to what you knew and actually what you're good at, and now what you absolutely love, which is sales.
Yeah. And I often think, Sam, you know, if I hadn't gone back and done a head of sales role and worked with a team that were missing target and worked through that with them and been on that journey with them, where we were really on our knees, you know, again, coming back from adversity as a team. If I hadn't have done all those things and the strategy and the sales director knowledge, I'm not sure I could be such a great sales coach today if I hadn't have been involved in all of that beforehand, you know. So it all does lead to something ultimately, doesn't it? I think it
does, and you don't, you know, you sometimes just can't see it at the time, can you? That's why I say it can be easy for us to you know, be upset and moan and complain and blame, but actually later on down the line you'll look back and you'll connect the dots looking back and think, okay, like you, if you hadn't have done this, if this hadn't happened, then you wouldn't be where you are now, which is doing stuff you love and speaking, and obviously you've written a book and everything. So you just never know, but it's hard when you're hurting, when you're in pain, when you're trying to push forward, to keep that mindset of, this will be for the greater good eventually. I will look back on this and know this was the right path. This is, you know, what I was meant to be doing. That's the tough bit. That's the mindset, the resilience, and all the personal development that we do. And that's when it comes into play, when you're really struggling, and just to try and hold on to those thoughts that this is where I'm meant to be right now, and I will look back and I will realize that. But when you're going through it, you can think, oh my God, what the hell?
It's really hard. And I think there was part of my TEDx, towards the end of my TEDx talk, when I talked about what I'd learned really from my dad as much as from my journey. And that was that you can't live in the past, because you know, you made those decisions, you decided that was right at the time, and you need to live with that. That's okay. And you can't live in the future, because you absolutely future catastrophize, because I know I used to do it all the time, worrying to death what was going to happen next.
Future catastrophize. I've not heard that one before.
Future catastrophize. It's a good one. The key was, every single day of that journey was to live in the now. That was the only way that I could get up in the morning, see what the day brought, and then go home and go to bed again. And that literally was how I lived, and how I got stronger again, was just living every single day as it was.
I think that's the key to when you are really struggling. Whenever I've had really tough times, I think that's when and I'm not a big sort of woo woo person and massively spiritual. I'm a little bit, but living in the now when you're really struggling is one sound piece of advice for anyone. If you are
That's
really
it.
struggling, just focus on the here and the now, because it is actually all you can control. The trouble is, there's a saying from an old film that we might be done with our past, but our past is not done with us, or our past is not through with us. And a lot of people, we can think, yeah, we're done with the past, but then it comes back to haunt you when you least freaking want it to. Do you know what I mean? And again, that's where the mindset and the personal development kicks in, because it will come back, and you'll start looking back and I've done it myself. And that's when you've got to really work on yourself and just think, no, now is is all I have. That's gone, that's dusted. Next year or next month probably isn't going to appear how I want it to appear. It's like me, I was talking to someone today, and I talked about the present. I was saying, did I think a year ago that I would be where I am right now this time, in 12 months' time? No, I didn't. And it will probably be the same next year. So looking to the future is a complete waste of time, because it probably isn't going to be how you envisage it. All you actually have is right now. So focus on the now, what you can do now, what you can achieve today. Make sure you put fun in your day. Make sure you're doing the things that you want to do and enjoying, which you clearly are with your sales program. Moving swiftly on there.
I see what you did there. I see your link.
See what I did there. So I want to talk to you about UHP and live it, love it, sell it.
Yes.
Because so UHP is your what is that your business name, or is that
okay, so Live It, Love It, Sell It is the brand. And it's the business name. So if you like, it's the umbrella that everything sits underneath. But I Live It, Love It, Sell It was very much, it's the book. It was very much the journey of an entrepreneur. It was a sales program that was quite entrepreneurial focused. And then I realized that, well, I'd come from a big corporate background, and actually the corporates are not selling properly. So we need something for them too. And I was sitting one day thinking, all we ever got told and bombarded with was, you need to understand your USP. So your unique selling proposition. Okay. And this is a phrase from the 1940s. That's how old
very
it
old,
is.
isn't it?
And actually today there's so much noise out there that you just wonder, how much value does a USP really have? Okay. And it's a very open question for anyone to answer. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, this is not the strength anymore. But actually what's the strength is the people. So you have a uniqueness that no one on the planet has. And so then I thought, well, we could have UHP, the unique human proposition. And I looked, and nobody was talking about it. No one was using it. And if they are, that's brilliant. So I trademarked it, because I knew that was the philosophy all around how certainly corporates were going to differentiate themselves because of their people. So no other company has the same sales team as you have, because they don't have your people. So let's look at, what are their traits, what are their strengths, what's their unique personal brands as individuals, and how do we then bring that together under a core value in the business to make the sales experience you give unparalleled to anything else. And UHP was born. So what we did then, what I did was I created a program then that doesn't look at targets, objection handling, closing the sale, the standard traditional things a sales process looks at. We don't look at that stuff. What we look at is, what's your why? What's your personal brand? How are all your personal skills and life skills kicking into the job that you do? How much do you love what you do? Because this is what I did with the team that I talked about earlier, who were on their knees, and we were missing target by £2 million.
Wow.
That's what we did. We took all of the targets out of the scenario.
They
were still there. We needed to hit them, but we didn't talk about them. We talked about, what are you good at? What do you love? Who are you? What's your personal brand? How do you want to talk to your customers? How are you going to create relationships? What are your values? And it was incredible how every single one of those people in my team became amazing and loved what they did and individual, and we smashed the target.
Yeah, I know the happy ending to that
Yeah,
story.
yeah, we smashed it.
You smashed it. So,
Yeah,
so obviously a great program to devise and to put out into the world and into the
yeah,
corporates and
yeah.
everything.
It's a challenge, Sam, because the big companies are still always looking at target. It's target first. That's the
Yeah,
driver.
and that was going to
Um,
be one of my questions, because how do you deal with that when you go into businesses trying to sell your program, because they are just target led,
yeah,
instead of
they are.
led.
One of the things that I have now is a case study, which is really brilliant, and I still am looking for a couple of probably a couple more case study businesses.
Right.
So that would be where we can work together, but actually then build a case study off the back of our work together,
Yeah.
which would be amazing. But this particular case study last year, I saw them have two arms of business. One was retail, one was warehousing.
Yeah.
And in the retail side of the business, it was actually dipping because retail was.
Yeah.
So they were naturally dipping. And overall, their business had an 8% increase on revenue.
Brilliant.
Because they changed how they did their selling.
Yeah.
They built relationships.
Yeah. Amazing.
So it works. Yeah.
It works. So we've
Yeah,
got to
no
get
question.
UHP out into the wider world.
We've got to get UHP out there. I think people who are using a traditional standard sales process, what's going to happen ultimately is it's just not going to work. It's going to become less and less effective. So UHP is about the way we now want to do business as humans. We want that human connection and the relationships.
Absolutely. And when you're a boss, or when you're driving a team, or a company, and you have employees, you I think a lot of bosses think that the staff have a responsibility to them or to the business, but it's the other way round. And I think that's what you're doing by that program is, trying to teach business owners and businesses that you have a responsibility to your staff. And this program seems like it could offer that. Do you know what I mean? That actually,
Definitely.
let's be interested in our people. If you find out what makes them tick and what who they are, then you can bring out the best in them. And when you bring out the best in people, then they'll show up and they'll go above and beyond, and they'll do more than it's expected of them, I think.
Yeah, and add to that, you'll have less churn, so less recruiting because of that churn, less people off sick, better mental health. Actually, all of those things are an outcome of doing a UHP type sale. It's incredible.
So it makes perfect sense.
Huge sense.
You've got a successful model then in many different areas, not just in sales, but like say the churning over of staff and everything like that. So I wish you all the luck in the world with it. I know it's great.
Thank you.
You know it's great. Just got to make the whole world realise it's great.
Yay!
But it's a process, isn't it? And these things can take time. So when it comes to the live it, love it, sell it bit, how did you come up with that? And where did that come from?
So I met a lady online who was a book coach. So she was somebody who helps you to write your book by coaching you and keeping you accountable. And I had a conversation with her, and she said, "Oh, why don't I come down and have a half day with you, and we'll map out the book." And when she came, I said, so I was on Dragon's Den, and this is the story. That's what I thought the book would be. And when we sat, and having spoken for only about an hour, she said to me, "I don't think your book's about Dragon's Den." And I said, "Really?" She said, "No." She said, "I think your book needs to be about sales." She said, "It's amazing how you talk about sales." So I said, "Oh, okay then." So we got all these things out on the front room floor, all these pieces of card with words and sentences on, and we put them into an order. And she said, "Look, this is all mindset stuff, this here, and this is all about your customer and your client, and then this is all about how you sell." And she went, "Look, live it, love it, sell it." Like that.
Brilliant.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, that's it." and that was how Live It, Love It, Sell It was born. So.
Brilliant. So how long ago was that then?
That was 2017.
Okay.
In the August, and then the book published in October 2018. I finished writing it ready for edit in August 2018.
So you're glad you did it?
Yeah. Amazing. It hasn't really moved out of the top 100 on Amazon ever since it's been published. Brilliant. Which has just been wonderful. So it's very exciting. So
anybody listening to go and get that book.
Get that book. Yes.
Live it, love it, sell it.
Live it, love it, sell it. Yeah.
That's great. That's really good. I mean, I hope to write a book one day, but I don't know. It just it feels a bit daunting. I think a lot of people feel like that, but they say everyone's got a book in them. Everyone's got at least one book in them. They say so.
Yeah, they
It's
have.
funny, I think I know what my book would be about, but then maybe when you come to map it out, maybe it will be something different. I don't know. But
You never know. And I think I would highly recommend getting yourself a book coach, because they just help to keep everything accountable. They're an outside view on what you're writing. So they don't necessarily write it and edit it, but they'll read it and say, I'd like to know more about what you've just said there. It's a great point. And they help you to elaborate on something that you think, well, you know it, you see, that's the thing. So
well,
you
that's
think
it. Yeah, that's the thing, when you know it and you think everyone else knows it, but rather than expanding on it and putting it in its simplest forms, what you need to do. I do that in coaching. You assume that people know that, but actually, no, you've really got to just bring it right back to basics. And my coach, who coached me to be a coach, kept saying that, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple, because they don't know what you know. You think they know, but they don't. You think that's the basics. It's not. There's another lower layer and another lower layer.
Exactly.
I guess with book writing, I would absolutely get a coach to do it. I know I would need the accountability to get it done. I would need help with mapping it out. I've got all my stories and my stuff in my head, but I absolutely would need it. And I think, I think we all need coaches. Obviously I'm a coach and you do coaching, I know, and we all need coaching for various areas of our life, our relationships, our business, our work, whatever, whether we want to write a book, we want to go to the gym and be fit, we get a coach, we get a PT or whatever. Coaches are super valuable for many areas of our lives. So I absolutely 100% will get one. Maybe I'll get the number of your one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's on the list. It's just when I get to that point where I'm like, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, it'll feel right, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see. But one of the other things I want to talk, we've been talking for half an hour already, blimey. We could probably talk for hours, Jules.
I think so.
But we better keep it. We better try and rein it in a bit. So I wanted to talk about TEDx. I want to talk about your speaking, because that's something else you do. And I've seen you speak several times. I know you're an amazing speaker. You've spoken internationally. Highlights in speaking, would TEDx be up there, or was it going abroad to speak? What would it be?
Yeah, I think TEDx is definitely massive, because obviously it's where I started my speaking career again. After Dragon's Den, I was speaking professionally and being paid.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about speaking. All I was doing was just parrot fashion repeating the story of Dragon's Den, and everybody loved it. But now I speak properly, in terms of I've really got to the bottom of what speaking really is about, and what's in it for the audience, because it is all about the audience. Absolutely, as you know, Sam. So TEDx definitely massive. I think also going abroad this year in January, I went to Nice. And I spoke to a room of 60 sales managers from 10 different countries. And I said to you when I got back, it was probably one of the most challenging events I'd been at, because of the language barrier. I was always trying to sense check that people had actually understood what I was really trying to say and what my message was. And it was massively uncomfortable but rewarding, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
and I grew again, So absolutely brilliant. I've got a few really exciting events coming up where I'm now speaking at certain conferences and things. So that you're being a proper keynote now, which is. I've sort of grown up, I'm an all grown up speaker.
You're a grown up speaker. I'm a little primary school teacher. You're a grown up teacher, and one day I'm going to be with the grown ups. I'm going to be a teacher.
do you know what? It's funny though, because it's I'm such an amateur compared to the guys who've been on the circuits for 10, 15, 20 years. They're amazing. I've got so much more to learn, but it just feels like I am now getting paid to speak, which is ultimately what professional speaking is about. It means that you feel like you've got a value, which is brilliant, because we've all got a value, and it feels like I'm making a difference when I speak as well now. And I love that.
I think the time, last time I saw you speak was in Brighton at the Grow 19 event. And you were keynote that day. And I think, what comes across is that you're really passionate about what you talk about. When you see speakers, and I love watching speakers. We went to TEDx in Brighton 2019 together, and you know, it's when people are passionate about what they talk about that, you know, that really comes across. And
Yeah.
you know, and that's what came across when I saw you in Brighton. So I'd highly recommend you as a speaker, because I thought you were very engaging, clearly knew what you were talking about, but clearly loved what you were talking about. Did you find that off the back of TEDx you got that opened the speaking world up to you? Because I think, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I think that a lot of people think doing TEDx will open up this massive world of speaking engagements for you, and I think it actually doesn't.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, so what happened for me was I got 2 paid bookings from that TEDx in Brighton, which was brilliant. But after that, you then have to forge your speaking career yourself. You cannot ever sit. Same with a book. You can't sit on the back of the fact, oh, I've written a book, oh, I did a TEDx. That doesn't mean then the world opens its doors and it gives you everything you ever want. You have to continually market everything that you do. So I'm always marketing my book. I'm always marketing my speaking. I have to go out and get it. You know, I'm not famous. I'm not a celebrity. I haven't hit the TV recently on anything, you know, reality wise. Therefore, I have to work really hard to get above the noise of the thousands and millions of people out there who are speaking and writing books now. You know, it's a very saturated market. So, you know, my advice, I think, is be passionate about what you're doing, as opposed to just think it's to make money and a career. If you remain completely passionate and on a mission to give that message out to people and inspire them, I don't think you can go very far wrong. That's really key. So.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally would agree with you there. But it's yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because I just, you know, I hanker after doing a TEDx, but I am well aware that ultimately, and from what you're saying, from your book to your speaking and everything, that it still comes back to you, doesn't it? It still comes back to you. You've still got to go and do the work. You've still got to put yourself out there. You know, it still starts with you.
Starts with you. I was just going to say
it still starts with you, sort of still putting yourself out there and promoting your book. And you know, it's not just going to go, oh, hallelujah, it's all going to fall in my lap. You've still got to do the work, haven't you?
Yeah, you have. And one of the things I talk about in my sales programs is about getting visible.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a big thing. You have to just remain visible all the time so people know that you're still there and you're still doing what you do.
Because like you said, there's just so much noise out there now.
Yeah.
You know, thinking off the back of that, you know, you're saying about, you know, continually showing up and putting yourself out there. I mean, I guess in order to do that, you have to have a certain mindset. You certainly have to have work on yourself, see it as a regular occurrence. I always say it's a daily thing. It's not, it's like washing and brushing your teeth. You've got to do it every day. You know, how does that how does sort of personal development mindset play a part in your business and life and personal life?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the showing up stuff is all about confidence.
Yeah.
It's all about believing that there's always someone out there who didn't see your message yet. Because there's a big, the imposter syndrome side of the world will say to you, you can't say that again. You said it yesterday and everybody saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
And I got over that quite quick, because I realized that not everyone sees your post with all the algorithms. Not everybody gets that message. So maybe I might word it in 2 or 3 different ways, but I will continually put out that message.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you'll get someone say, oh my God, I've just bought your book. Oh my goodness, I just saw your TEDx, or I've just bought your course. And you think, well, blimey, why didn't you buy it by now? And of course, that's because either they wanted to just keep seeing you enough times to feel like they wanted it. Because that's the other thing. There's a whole theory behind this, stats-wise, that people have to see you so many times. But psychologically, it is a fact. I'm not going to see you once and go, oh, Sam, I love you. I want to work with you. I'm going to watch you. And I may have lurkers who are watching my posts for some time before they actually feel like they want to speak to me.
Exactly.
So the visibility piece is massively important.
But there's a big thing though, isn't there? Because, you know, we do have to be visible, you know, like me, put myself out there more for my coaching and my speaking. But you do have to work on yourself to keep continually doing that. Have, like you say, having the confidence in your message and what you're putting out there, and taking that, like this morning I spoke about risk. you know, taking risks. But that is, I do it, but it is about me personally working on myself every day to put myself out there and show up and having that
Yeah.
strength to just, I believe in this, and, you know,
Yeah.
delivering the same message but in a different way. And it's personal development. You just gotta, yeah, it's not easy. It's not
It's massive. It's massive. And the sales road trip, as I call it, which is live it, love it, sell it,
yeah,
is all about the live it is, are you fit to travel? Are
yeah,
you fit to travel on this sales road trip?
yeah,
And the love it is about planning the route.
yeah,
So that's everything from what is your message, what's your why, who's your client, what's
yeah,
their why,
yeah,
connecting all of that. And then that's where you fall in love with sales,
yeah,
and who you are and what your message is.
yeah,
And the sell it is traveling to the destination. You're ready to go. And that's getting visible, getting curious, staying in touch,
yeah,
and being out there with that consistent message.
yeah,
Once you understand what you truly, truly love doing and who you truly want to work with, and how you can help them, that message becomes really easy to deliver. And you just got to just keep
yeah. I
doing
mean,
it.
it's like, you know, I believe in it starts with you. I absolutely do, and it resonates with me more than anything else. I believe in that, and I believe in us empowering ourselves in that. But I still think it's still a daily thing to show up, to put myself out there. I feel like I'm taking a risk of judgment, risk of opinion, risk of somebody going, oh God, you're not saying that again, or whatever. But do you know what I mean? It is a continual thing to work on that day in, day out. And I know a lot of other business people, I'm in a few business groups, as I know you are, and I know that a lot of other business people struggle as well with it, even though they believe in their product. Even, you know, some people that have a product, but they still struggle to put themselves out there, have that confidence, and you know, and it's just a daily thing to work on yourself. And
Yeah.
that's why I think you're a really strong character. You know, but you are, because, you know, it more so than a lot of people I think I speak to, about putting yourself out there and having the confidence in what you're doing, because you very quickly realise that, yeah, not everyone's seeing my message. You'll put it out once, not everyone's seeing it, but so many people do think, oh well, I put one post up today, and think, well, I can't put another one up this week, and it's like, who do you think saw your message? You know, probably your grandmother and your, you know, sister or whatever. But you very quickly realise no, and you just keep showing up and delivering and delivering. Doesn't matter if there's one person shows up in your group, you're still going to show up later today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, sorry, go on.
No, I was also going to say that I think there's two things go on. You know, there's the whole fear thing, isn't there? What you tell yourself.
Yeah.
And I think because I hit such a rock bottom when I lost Truly Madly Baby, I always think to myself, I could never feel that bad again.
Wow.
So nothing ever feels like it could be that bad again. So it's almost like, even on my bad days, because don't get me wrong, you know, I definitely have days where I think, oh my God, I really don't feel like showing up today. But I can never ever feel as bad as I felt that day that I had to close the doors on my business. And that's my trigger, and that's my anchor, if you like, that I always go back to. So that helps me. And also, I find it quite exciting about how I'm going to say the same damn thing for the next 7 days in different ways. And I'm like, oh, my creativity starts. Yeah, my creativity starts.
I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to say that in a different? Because I wake up in the morning and I just think, I'll read, and I do my gratitudes, and I write, and I plan. And then whatever comes in my head for the day, whether it's something to do with me or something I had a conversation with a client the previous day, that's how I come up with my stuff. But me, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to say this in a completely different way? You're like, yay!
I get really excited about it, and I'll make like a new little video, and I'll go, oh yes, that's great, and then I'll do it like a story, and oh, that's great, and then I'll do a question. I'll ask a question, and I just get really excited about the different ways that I can draw the people into that same subject. You know, I'm doing the UHP deliverables at the moment, and there's 7 of them, which is great. So every day I can just talk about a different deliverable, but it's all UHP. So, you know, you're cementing the UHP every day, but you're talking about a different element of it and introducing the programs for everyone. So there's lots of ways we can do this. It's very exciting. And my most exciting thing, and what I have to tell you about before we go, is the pick and mix online group program, because that is mind-blowing. And I mean, for me, it's mind-blowing because I love it. I love doing it so much.
It's an online sales program, is it?
It's an online sales group program. I do it on Zoom, and it's maximum 6 people, so it's really intimate. And I've sat and thought, and I've done two lots now, and my third lot starts 22nd of April. Little plug.
Yeah, you know.
But the point is, Sam, I keep thinking, why haven't I done this before? Because I absolutely love it. It's so good because every single session is different because of the people that I've got with me.
Because the people make it, don't they? They bring something different.
It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And it's a really good price point because I actually want more and more people to just do this with me. I don't want it to be high ticket. It's not about that. I love doing this program.
So is it aimed at sort of like solo entrepreneurs? What is it? Corporates? What's it aimed at?
No, this is the entrepreneur, solopreneur kind of market. Yeah. These are the guys who, you know, sometimes can't really afford those really big ticket prices. Yeah. And so I don't want to do that. I want to get them in a group where it's intimate, safe, fun, and they've got 6 sessions, right? They're an hour and a quarter each. They're all on Zoom. 6 sessions where we go through all the really fundamental things that they need to go away to fall in love with sales.
It's amazing.
It's majorly.
It does sound fun.
I love it. But maybe you can put some links in and stuff.
Yeah, no, we will get something.
Very cool.
Notes. Yeah, definitely.
Very cool.
I can tell you're excited about that.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Before we finish up, a couple of things I'd like to ask you is what's your greatest achievement to this point? What would you say it is? I know you've won some awards and you've done some bits and pieces, but what do you think your greatest achievement is?
My son. Right. That was easy.
I knew you were going to say that.
That was really easy.
Well, let me rephrase it. What's your greatest business achievement?
I think, in all honesty, just doing another business, having another business, because after I lost Truly Madly Baby, as you know, I went back to work. So I was working for people for almost 10 years. And I always yearned to just start a business again. So I feel really excited and happy that I was brave enough to do this all again. And mad enough. But this has been a real big achievement, having Live It, Love It, Sell It, my own methodology around sales, the book. You know, that's been big for me.
And what would be the one piece of advice you would give to someone who was thinking about starting their own business? The one golden nugget you could give them?
Well, it's interesting. I was asked this on a video clip, which you can still see on my YouTube channel, interestingly enough. When I was running Truly Madly Baby, she asked me that question. And my answer was the same as it is today. Make sure you know that there's a market for what you want to do. And make sure you understand that it's really not easy. It's not easy.
No.
But it is the most rewarding thing when it works and you're doing something that you truly love. And it's about surrounding yourself with really great people, because you can't just do it on your own. Honestly, it's not worth it. You're not going to be great at everything. So just surround yourself with amazing people. Love what you do. And just enjoy the ride, because I tell you, it's the best thing that you'll ever do. And there'll be times you wonder, but it is the best thing that you'll ever do.
Yeah, great advice. I would agree with all that wholeheartedly. Okay, so just before we finish up, I do a few little cheeky questions. They're really quick fire. So here we go. You ready?
Scared.
It's nothing embarrassing. Don't need to be scared. Here's the first one. If you had to replace all your hearing with one sound continuously for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh God! Well, music does that count? Music?
There's no rules to these questions, Jules.
Yeah, music.
I had Selassie on the other week, and he said sound of I think it was a motorbike. He's a real motorbike enthusiast.
Oh yeah.
So it was his bike called Optimus, I think it was.
Yeah, no, music, definitely music.
Yeah,
I love music.
If you could only watch 4 movies for the rest of your life, which ones would you pick? Are you a movie buff?
Yeah, not bad. Pretty Woman.
Oh, it's my favourite film ever.
Yeah, most definitely.
That.
There's a wonderful movie called The Help. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The Shawshank Redemption, I think it's called,
classic.
which was really amazing. And there was one I saw recently, which was really, really wonderful. And I can't remember, so I'll come back to you on that one.
I've got 2 more questions. Okay, I like this question. It's one of my favourites. How would you describe yourself in 4 words?
Oh, blimey. Tenacious.
Yeah.
Passionate.
Yeah.
Loving.
Yeah.
Kind.
Perfect. Without saying money, if you snapped your fingers and one thing would always appear, what would you choose?
Mum and Dad.
Oh, Jules, you'll break my heart. Oh.
Yeah, definitely. It has to be 2 things, sorry, not just one. It had to be them together. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be just like chocolate or something.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Wow. God rest their souls. God rest their souls. Jules, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing part of your story. I know we probably could have talked for at least another hour. Sadly, I don't know whether everyone would want to listen to us.
Yeah, they've probably switched off by now.
No, it's a great story. It's an inspiring story, and I want people to hear it. And I want people to know who Jules White is, because I think you're amazing. I absolutely do. So if other people think you're amazing or want to know more about Jules White, how do they get in touch with you? How can they connect with you?
Well, I think the best thing to do is go to liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. That's the website. Everything else is on there, all the links to everywhere. So start there. That's the best thing. Yeah.
Okay, and they'll find everything about Jules.
And they'll find everything about me, yeah.
Brilliant. All right, Jules, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you once again for taking time to chat to me. And I'll catch up with you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, darling.
No problem.